All right, a quorum being present, we will call the September 19th meeting to order at 6:03. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I hope everybody had a lovely summer. I know I did.
We missed you, Mike.
Seems short. It wasn't in Massachusetts very much.
What else is new?
All right. First, I would like to recognize Dr. Dufresne, who will introduce Ariana.
So thank you very much for indulging us. We're pretty proud of the work of some of our students. I'd like to introduce as well Mr. Redmond, the advisor to the St. You're going to correct me, the Save Promise Club, which we constantly call it. And this is Ariana and Isabella, and they had, well, Ariana has had quite a few experiences. She's worked with the Save Promise Club, works with Sandy Hook, the Sandy Hook Promise Foundation, and she is sort of our student safety advocate. And she came tonight at your invitation to tell a little bit about her work. And she's had some pretty jazzy adventures, and while she talks, I'll just pass around some photos that she provided me with.
Thank you. Hi everyone, I'm Ariana, and like Dr. Dufresne said, I'm here to talk about the Save Promise Club and its work with Sandy Hook Promise. I've had the privilege of running the Save Promise Club for about 4 years now, but I've been on the National Youth Advisory Board with Sandy Hook Promise for 3 years. It's been incredible. I've learned a lot, had a lot of really great experiences. So SAVE stands for Students Against Violence Everywhere. It's a student activism group led by students for students, and it's to prevent gun violence in schools and at homes. So, because I'm on the National Youth Advisory Board, there's about 9 of us from different states across the country, and we've got to do a lot of traveling, which has been really, really neat. Some of my favorites, definitely DC. I've had the privilege of going to DC 3 times now, one for lobbying work, one when I was invited to a Sandy Hook Promise annual gala, and the third and most recent was at the White House. But before I talk about myself and the things that I've had the privilege of doing, I'm going to let my shadow here, Izzy, introduce herself. So go ahead.
Hi guys, I'm Isabella. I'm a sophomore at the high school, and I'm Ariana's shadow and vice president. I joined SAVE because everything that it surrounds around it touches my experience, and I want to be able to provide that sort of resemblance for other people as well.
Yes, so I'm hoping she will take over the club once I graduate, fingers crossed. All right, so I first went to DC summer of 23, I believe. I was able to meet with staffers, senators, and representatives. Senator Markey, Representative Neal, Senator Warren. It was a really, really incredible experience, and I am really passionate about political advocacy work, and we were there lobbying for a Stop Violence Act. I don't know if any of you have heard of it. It was written by Sandy Hook Promise, and we were there with the co-founders, co-founders, and the policy team. So I'm very lucky. I'm able to work really closely with the policy team of Sandy Hook Promise, which allows me to do the things that I do in DC. Next I went for the gala, which there was U.S. Senator Lujan there and U.S. Senator Young. They were very inspiring, and they're huge donors of Sandy Hook Promise. I was the youth representative at this gala. There were no other teenagers. I was there to speak on behalf of youth across the country, on behalf of high schoolers who are in this line of danger because of the rise in school shootings. So I was there to talk about that to adults, to donors, and try to give them that new perspective and that different perspective, not just from a policy level, but from an actual high schooler. Then I was invited by Kamala Harris's chief of staff to a youth roundup table discussion about gun violence as well, and there were a ton of different organizations there. about 20-ish youth reps, and the only word I can think to describe it was incredible and eye-opening. There are a lot of teenagers and youth across the country who are passionate about this and who really want to make a difference, me included. We talked about red flag laws, we talked about gun safety, we talked about warning signs, and all of those things that kind of contribute to the public health crisis of gun violence. So there's that, and then on the National Youth Advisory Board as a whole, we also do a lot of traveling, and our next trip is coming up in January. We'll be going to Miami to visit the Anonymous Reporting System headquarters. I'm hoping that I can learn more about the Anonymous Reporting System and, fingers crossed, bring it back to Tantasqua. A lot of students have come to me and kind of reported things to me that they've seen, that they've heard, that makes them nervous, and of course, with access to social media, high schoolers are hearing about these school shootings and these gun violence things all across the country, everywhere, and they're scared, and they've told me this too. And so, with the anonymous reporting system, we'd be able to give some sort of comfort. So I'm really hoping to find out more about that, and like I said, hopefully bring it to our school. So if anybody has any questions, please don't hesitate to reach out. Again, my name is Ariana, and thank you so much all for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming in.
Thank you so much.
Isabel, nice to meet you as well. Mr. Haggerty?
I'd love to hear about your research when you do get it together in terms of things that are being used in other schools to provide students with additional sense of safety. So please, please feel free to come back and see us.
A big thing we're trying to do is teach warning signs to look out for in the first place. So instead of reacting to situations, we're preventing them in the first place. So those are big. And if you go online and you look up Sandy Hook Promise /Anonymous Reporting System, there's a ton of information there too, if you're interested in learning more about that.
Always.
If I may, before I forget, I just want to make sure I thank Ms. Redmond for her guidance of our Safe Promise Club.
Yes, I've had really great advisors, Ms. Redmond and Ms. Hughes. They have been incredible to me. Very, very helpful. I could not have done it. We could not have done it without them. So kudos to them.
How many students are involved up at the high school?
So it varies a lot. We throw parties, and at that point we have, I don't know, what do you want to say, probably 40, 50 with those parties. And then, but we do have like a really small group that we meet up every single Tuesday to do like more planning. So on that smaller group, there's probably about 5 or 6 of us who do the major planning and that kind of thing. So like I said, it varies a lot. It depends on if we're like strictly planning or if we're just having like a full meeting with everyone invited.
Right.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Redmond.
All right, at this time, I'll entertain a motion for approval of the minutes for May 29th, 2024. Is there a motion? Motion's been made by Mr. Noyes Miller, seconded by Mr. Goodwin. Any discussion? Seeing none, the chair calls for a vote. Those in favor of the motion will say aye.
Aye.
Any nays? Abstentions for the record. Yes. All right, the abstentions are noted for the record. The motion carries. We'll move to the financial report and the final FY24 results. Mrs. Leo.
So you got the packet chock full of good information. Finally, the revenues caught up, which was nice to see. So they've been trailing for most of the year. We did end the year with a positive balance, which allows us to move money into E&D. The reason for ending the year with a positive balance was truly because of the rural aid funding and needing to fully expend ESSER 3 funds. And then from school choice, the funding, we brought in more school choice money than we had anticipated originally. And $350,000 of that money was spent on the budget.
Any questions on the financial report and the FY24 closeout? All right, thank you, Mrs. Leo. All right, that'll bring us to our student reports. Gentlemen, good evening.
Good evening.
Who wants to go? Principals introduce, and then the students can tell us a little bit about themselves and then give us their report.
So really pleased to introduce Ben Bashan. He will be our academic side student council rep and is a junior, so he'll be with us for a while. Ben, take it away.
All right. So the student body opened our school year with a long list of activities. So the student council members first met together a couple of weeks before school to plan new student orientation, which was widely successful in guiding both incoming freshmen and transfer students. It was there where we showed both students and parents around the school, helping to provide insight for the upcoming school year. Our student council also met the Monday before our first day back to help welcome teachers back and prep for the new school year to make sure everyone has a fresh start. As we transitioned into our first days of the school year, we held multiple bonding activities to ensure positive attitudes were held as we returned to our studies. On the first day of school, the seniors held their senior sunrise where they gathered on the football field and held yard games and bonded while they waited for their last first day of school. In the following week, Student Council met with the Save Promise Club to create our Start with Hello week. It was there where we passed out things such as necklaces, mints, and these little, we call them positive potatoes. They were like plastic potatoes, and they had like a note with them with positive affirmations to help spread positivity about the upcoming school year. Just this week, the Student Council wanted to show its appreciation for our teachers, so we started pushing around our teacher trolley cart, which had like snacks, drinks, stuff like that. We pushed it around our help sessions to show our appreciation. And in the process of doing so, we've also been attempting to gather teacher volunteers for our homecoming dance. We've already chosen our theme, which is A Night Among the Stars, and that reflects our reality TV themed Spirit Week. And members of our board have already begun compiling a list of decorations and necessities for the dance, which will be held on Saturday, October 5th. Ticket sales beginning on Monday, September 23rd. On the same limb of the homecoming dance, our council was planning on holding what we'd like to call our homecoming festival on Friday, October 4th, prior to our football game. It's there where we plan to hold bonding activities like yard games, concessions, and tables set up by different clubs around the school to help bring together our community. So we were planning on inviting like the elementary schools, the junior high, people from all around the district to help meet together before our first homecoming football game. We were planning on having it from 3 to 6, ending it just in time for the game. And currently our athletics seem to be excelling, with most of them holding solid records with very few losses. And overall, the student body seems to be pleased to be back at school, and I think we have a great start so far. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Thank you.
Good evening, welcome back. I'm going to introduce to you Ethan Espinosa. So Ethan has a couple of claims to fame. One is he is one of JD's favorite people. He is always there with JD first thing in the morning, and JD does follow him around. More importantly, one of the things I love about Ethan is he's my go-to person when we do tours for tech. If a family calls and wants to come in and take a tour of tech, Ethan is the first person to volunteer to do it. And he gives the most comprehensive tours. But what's really awesome is he brings that, I'll use the term positivity, the zeal, the passion for tech with every person with whom he meets. And I give you Ethan.
Hi, my name is Ethan Espinoza. I'm a senior in the IT program at the high school, and I'm going to tell you a little bit what's going on in the shops. So first off, in IT, the freshmen just completed rotation 1, which is of 9 rotations? Yep. The sophomores are working to earn their PC Pro certification. Students just completed learning about the OSI model. They will start looking at operating system basics and storage devices over the next month. Juniors are working to earn their PC Pro certification. Students are learning about the network concepts such as IPv4 and IPv6 addresses, networking ports, services, and protocol. Over the next month, students will learn about the wireless network troubleshooting, SOHO network, and network appliances. Seniors work to earn their Network Pro certification. Students are learning about the wireless network base attack and how to harden their attack surfaces. In recent lab exercises, students built their own wireless network, conducted wireless site surveys, and MAC address filtering. Over the next month, students will learn about the WAN networks and operation management. Other notes, seniors will be providing on-site technical support and security awareness training at the Sturbridge Senior Center twice a month on Thursday afternoon, starting in November. Former students are working to build a cyber range solution in the classroom. This will be a virtual environment that simulates real-world cyber attacks and networks for training, testing, and research. Knowledge will be passed along to the students. In the machine shop, sophomores have just finished their safety test, are starting to work independently on the machines. Juniors are working on the machines and strengthening their skills. Some seniors are getting ready to go on co-op. In healthcare, freshman group exploratory 1 just finished. The sophomores are working on legal and ethical aspects of healthcare. Juniors are beginning their vital sign units, but recently learned and practiced unoccupied and occupied bed making. Seniors are receiving Alzheimer's training, engaging in major skills boot camp, including bathing, showering, shaving, mouth care, nail care, transfers, in preparation to start clinical on Monday, September 30th. They will also be trying on and purchasing their clinical scrubs from local vendors next week. The healthcare program students and families will be walking the 2024 Worcester Walk to End Alzheimer's on October 6th and are currently raising money towards this great cause. Seniors will also be shaving the tax staff members and Dr. Dufresne. Did you get shaved today?
I did. I was just thinking about that. I didn't get cut or anything. I managed to say just this.
In CAD, juniors designed and build integrity structures. They also conducted site inspections on the cage and stadium. In electrical, 22 juniors are already utilizing the new benders they received from the Perkins money, learning how to bend electrical metallic tubing outside on the polyop. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Thank you, Bill. And then Ethan, questions for our student representatives? Ben, when was that homecoming pre-event scheduled for?
That was October 4th, so Friday, October 4th, 3 to 6 p.m.
Other questions for our student reps? Questions for us? All right, thank you both. Welcome. Nice to meet you both. All right, with that, we'll move to staff reports. Mr. Sturgis.
All right. I do enjoy coming back now and being here long enough where I actually remember the student reps. So it started with Jake's class 2 years ago, last year's reps, now these guys I remember. And Ariana Williams was as passionate about that State Promise Club in 7th grade as she is today. So, because we were part of that grant that was 7 to 12 when we got it, and she was. I still remember her because she would argue with me on things she wanted to do, and go, "You can't do that." So, yeah, no, we're gonna do it. That isn't Jake. So it's just great. It's amazing to hear now as a 12th grader how strong she's. It doesn't surprise me. So, anyways, junior high we were off to a good start. I don't want to say it out loud because this isn't real wood. So we're off to a really good start. Everything's up and running. We have our fall sports kicked off last week with a game. This week we have cross country got up and running. So now all of our sports have had their first or second games. We kicked off the year a little different. We had that now that we have that 2-day structure. We did it last year, but we always have this chaotic end of the year. Now that we have the civics MCAS in 8th grade as well, we're packing in a lot. So we took one of the outdoor field day activities and kind of put it at the beginning of the year as more of a kind of icebreaker, and it went really well. While staff and students out front. Our staff, our students, everyone's, the tone of this building right now is at a really awesome place right now. So, and the feedback from parents at open house last week, seemingly they're in a positive place too with us. So we're off to a good start. I do want to recognize, we did get a letter, it's not in my report because I just got it yesterday, that we were recognized by the Special Olympics as being a unified champion we are unified champion school status from the Special Olympics because we implemented unified sports last year, created an inclusive youth leadership opportunity for the students who helped our other students in the games, and it became a whole school activity. So we have nice 2 big banners we get to hang up, and we're recognized by the Special Olympics for that. So that's, to me, that's a big one. I think I talked about at one of the meetings last year how much of a positive experience the basketball game was, and we're going to do it again this year. Unified Bocce is kicking up in October. Everybody's favorite lazy game, the best. And then we'll do basketball again in the March area because it'll be between the end of basketball and the beginning of spring season. So it's open to all kids to participate. And then all the fun stuff at junior high, the after-school activities have all kicked off this week. So I just said to Mark, it's a good vibe in this place. And we are, I feel like we're in March already. It's only day 14. I want to say one positive thing. We do, Mr. Lamoth and Mark's guys, our kids, are in our building regularly doing work, and we had a very positive thing today. I know it's kind of corny, but it's one of my pet peeves is kids sitting alone at lunch, and I've learned that over time because our school's so big. We have some kids who just like to sit alone, but not typically. And today we had a kid sitting alone at 8th grade lunch, and Mark's kids are, Mr. Lamont's kids are, they get off the ladders while the 8th graders come in lunches so no one gets hurt. And so while they're waiting, no one said anything to them. These 2 seniors went and just sat with this kid and talked to him. So they might have gotten yelled at by Mr. Lamont for being off their post for a few extra minutes, but big shout out to those guys. And it's just, when those guys are in, kids, they're not all guys, when they're all in here, they're just, it's like having another group of young adults in here. So they do great work and they're just good people. So it's one of those, like, I actually went to Mr. Lamont and pulled him out of the cafeteria to say, look, I just wanted to point out those 2 kids because I didn't tell them to do that. So just a cool thing today.
Great. Thank you, Mr. Sturgis. Questions for Mr. Sturgis? Mrs. Panic?
Is the Yonder Pouches happening again?
Yes, we kicked off Yonder Pouches on the first day of the 2nd week. So all the kids have Yonder Pouches. The 7th graders were so thrilled to learn that about our school. But they are all using them, and we've had minimal issues so far. So it's all, we've received positive feedback. And I actually caught a kid today admitting that they like actually having a break from them, although they'll never admit it out loud. They told me not to tell them.
Thank you, Mr. Sturgis. Mr. Wood?
Welcome back, and I want to kick up a couple things. One, last spring I met with the electrical teachers to determine a different model to deliver the instruction, especially with the junior class. It's a large class, 20, 22, 23 kids. But we didn't have enough necessarily equipment to do, so all the kids could do the same thing at the same time. So they were working on the same concept, but different projects, which obviously was frustrating for kids waiting to have their project checked, and also frustrating for the teacher because he was running around trying to service all the kids to get them ready. So we sat down in the spring and we came up with an idea, and I said, that's a cool idea, let's go for it. And then I said, how much is that going to cost? And they said, about $62,000. I was going to come back to you and ask for it, but no, I wasn't. So we had to kind of figure out what we're going to do, and I was able to find a company that I had no idea what they were. The company is called Fluke. So between money that was left in the Perkins equipment, and then I built the electrical into Perkins, and Fluke gave us, they were amazing, they gave us everything we asked for, which is about $43,000 worth of equipment. And we were brazen enough because they gave us something we didn't ask for, but we didn't have the other part that went with it. So I went back and I said, I'm not trying to be greedy, but, and they're sending that along the way. So kudos to the teachers for really figuring out what's in the best interest of kids. And as Ethan said, as I went outside yesterday, there are all the kids up on the upper patio, all with their pipe benders, because before we used to have like 7, now we've got like 25. So they're able to all do it at the same time. And the cool thing is, when one kid is done, he or she or they can help another kid. So that's a really cool thing, and I'm so happy about that. You see the new staff. The one thing in IT, we have an IA in IT for 3 hours a day, but that is the toughest one to fill because the teacher needs somebody who understands the language. Otherwise, it doesn't make sense. And we've, again, thought outside the box. We have now partnered with QCC and seniors coming out of their IT program. are now coming and they're working for us. So that's like been a really good partnership at this particular point. I just want to piggyback on again, I guess this is all electrical all the time, but my electrical teachers and their seniors are amazing because, you know, Greg talked about what happened at the cafeteria, and I was just sharing with him, annually, Mr. Lamoth's kids go to the senior center, usually once a month, and play bingo with the seniors. And Mr. Mansfield's kids, every year, do a huge drive of their own. They go out shopping for Toys for Tots. So my electrical teachers not only teach the curriculum, but they really teach what it is to be a good person. And I think that's just kudos to them.
Thank you, Mr. Wood. Questions for Mr. Wood? Dr. Dufresne?
Mr. Wood didn't tell you, the carpentry guys have a blackjack game that goes on.
I'm down 500.
He didn't tell you Haggerty's the one calling the bingo.
We had a very good opening at the high school. Started the year in August. The student council, who I just can't say enough about it, they're like having an extra administrator in charge of school culture. They planned new student orientation. They came with some updates and some changes. Every single member, every single freshman came over, got a tour of the building, and they got their names were posted in the hallways. They each got make them feel like a warrior. We gave all of them some T-shirts. We kind of traffic in T-shirts over there. That's like our currency, and that was just incredible. Our first day, Ben talked about our senior sunrise, which this is the first time after I'm not sure how many senior sunrises that I've been to that I had last year. I had some of last year's seniors there, and I had to take a minute. I'm like, didn't I hand you a diploma? But they wanted to come and sort of be a part of it. It's a nice tradition. I can't get them up early any other time of the day or to school on time, but senior sunrise was terrific. Sports have started out. We are moving. It's that time of year where I just walk from field to field after school and get to see the kids outside of their normal operating procedures, and it's great to see them off and running. Our football schedule is a little backloaded with home games this year. I think we have 4 or 5 weeks, but none in the first 4 weeks. So it's fall. It feels like fall. I feel like I should be standing on the sideline of a football game every Friday night, and I keep waiting for the schedule to come up. But that's kind of the way it goes. Our show choir season is beginning shortly, and they're there rehearsing and meeting. Piano classes are at full capacity. Looking forward to some new pianos, and I can already start to hear the choirs rehearsing, and looking forward to some more music, maybe some more music at our athletic events this year. We've got some things planned. And in cross country, big win the other day, Ben Bashan, instrumental in the win. I'd be remiss if I didn't point that out. Our new cell phone policy of much angst has gone from where I sit, anyways, well. We've had not a lot of pushback. I've had a lot of faculty, talk about how nice it is to see the students engaging. Our faculty, as they always do, sort of embrace it, even though it may not have been sort of the way that they wanted it. All of them wanted it implemented. We all sort of agreed to try this, and if it didn't work, we do something else. But so far, so good. We changed up our open house a little bit. As opposed to the traditional open house, we made it a little more community-oriented. Know Your School night. We brought in some community partners. The DA sent a rep. Senator Fatman sent a rep. We brought teachers down to the cafeteria and dispersed some of them throughout the building. And it was more of a get to know your school and what we're doing night. It was earlier in the year, and so we thought we'd take a stab at something different, and we liked it. At least Mark and I did. We haven't had a full faculty discussion, but we felt like it went fairly well. The feedback was good. Upcoming, you'll hear more about the NEASC reports. I would love me a good accreditation visit. I'm the only one in the state. We started that work. Our accreditation isn't up until 27, that's the big visit, but they've broken it down. We'll have a smaller visit next fall, about this time next year. And so we're getting ready for that. The good news is we do what we said we were gonna do 10 years ago, so, and we're still doing it. So it's more an exercise in gathering that information and being able to present it than the ask for our accreditation visit. Ben talked about our homecoming festivals, new to us this year, but something that we think will be a lot of fun and hopefully sort of keep school spirit on the rise. So if you're around on the 4th of October, come on over. I'm sure there'll be plenty of food and things to do. And finally, tomorrow is the annual Teacup golf match between the faculty and the golf team, and the faculty lost last year, so we had a little discussion about it, and I'm sure that things will go much, much better this year. You want to do a push now?
Go ahead, yes, absolutely.
Sorry, then I lied to you, it's not my last thing. Really proud of our teachers for lots of reasons and the work they do with our kids every day. One of the things that came up over the summer was our A-Push AP exams. The scores were, that's US history, sorry, AP US history. That is, our scores were incredible. Last year they were awesome. Out of 40 test takers last year, 21 scored a 4 or 5, which was great. Adding in the threes, we had 83% of our students taking the US history advanced placement exam were able to earn college credit. This summer we got 23-24 out of 41 test takers, 35 scored a 4 or 5. So I won't bury the lead here with your threes. 97.6% of our A-Push students earned a 3, 4, or 5, making college credit. I've never seen results like that, and it's a tribute to our faculty and our great students. And I don't always get to share, well, I guess I do get to share good stuff all the time, so I get to share more good stuff. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Dufresne. Any questions for Dr. Dufresne? Right. Seeing none, Mr. Wood.
Raise that hand higher.
How is drop-off and pickup been going this year? I feel like last year that was big.
So drop off and pick up, I guess it all depends. From where I stand, it's going great. The metric that I sort of use is student and faculty safety, and so I haven't seen a faculty member or a kid or a student almost get hit by a car this year. So for me, it's great. I wish more people would utilize our buses, but I understand the reasons why not. And we have 3 lots where they can drop, turn around, and go out. I encourage everyone to use the cage lot because almost no one is up there, and you can get back out on Weber Road without waiting. The senior lot seems to be a magnet, and in the mornings when people are taking a left, it can, or like Tuesday when someone was unloading a pallet of pellets on 148 and turn it into a 1-lane road, it can be a little challenging. So we're keeping people in those lots, not allowing them behind the school. We have special education vans, and of course our shop folks, our shop students are lining up and loading up their buses out there. So we try to keep everyone in the lots and out of sort of behind and in front of the school. If your metric is I want to get to work earlier, it's probably going poorly. But, for me, it's going great.
All right, thank you, Dr. Dufresne. Mr. Wood, you mentioned in your report, and I just want to be clear, so we need to vote to accept the...
I double-checked the contract. It's not a vote. It's just to inform because you've signed off on it.
No, we're talking about the grant.
The Fluke
Oh,
Community...
I'm sorry. I thought we talked about the building project.
Yeah.
No, the
Sorry.
Fluke Community
Yes.
Grant for $43,167.
Sorry.
We need to vote.
We should have voted to accept that before we accepted the funds.
Yeah.
So with that, I'll entertain a motion to accept the $43,167 Fluke Community Grant.
So moved.
Second made by Mrs. Alden, seconded by Mr. Goodwin. Is there any discussion? Is there any objection? Seeing none by unanimous consent, that motion is approved. Right. All right, brings us to our committee reports, of which we only have one committee with a report, and their report, I think, is generally covered under new business, so we'll hit that then.
Correct.
That'll bring us to our superintendent's report. Mrs. Fuller.
Okay. It has been a very busy 3 weeks. It was busy summer before that too. And I do want to thank Dr. Dufresne for attempting to not take the wind out of my sail. This time I served up that one to you. I appreciate you even asking, because I do say sometimes, hey, you took one from me. I do want to say, while you all chuckled thinking it was a joke, it is the first time that I discovered just how a little twisted that man is. He actually is excited about NEAS. That was a joke. So, here we go. Whatever he said, oh, I'm so excited. Something's wrong, but we're gonna take it. We're gonna take it.
We knew you loved standards.
Oh, yeah. Yep. So on we go. Following up a little bit on the kind of the opening week and certainly the energy opening day, I will, what is not mentioned actually in Dr. Dufresne's report is the high school student council who literally forced their way into the real opening day, which was staff. The Monday, the first day back with the staff. I don't know if you remember last year, I made it a point of inviting some high school and junior high student council students to welcome the staff. So these are kids who did volunteer to come 2 days before they were starting school at 7 o'clock in the morning and try and applaud and cheer on teachers as they came in. It was awesome. I decided last spring it was time this year for the elementary students. So we started working on making sure that we had a handful of elementary students representing all 5 towns, representing K through 6. We're ready, we have their names, we have the plans, and 1 week before opening day, I get an email from the student council president saying, hey, can we do that again? And we've got more. And I did lovingly say, thank you so much, I can't wait to see you this year. Well, actually, no. Dr. Dufresne first responded very quickly, yeah, great, can't wait to see you, to which I had to say, Dr. Dufresne may have forgotten we have the little kids schedule this year. So thank you so much, looking forward to see you. Do you maybe want to come on day 2? To which she would not take no for an answer and said, can we come also with the little? So it was awesome. So it was, you know, they were handing out cookies and applauding staff as they came in. It was a beautiful morning, so that was also a great plus. And then we introduced the little kids. So it was awesome. They are full of energy. It was nice to see them interacting. On that opening day, I continued with the recognition of staff across the district that have now hit 25 years serving, in this case, Tantasquas. So for you all to just know, on the junior high side, we had Kristen Daly, science teacher, and Lori Hamperian, special needs teacher. On the high school, we had Pam Norton, English teacher, and Trish O'Brien, art teacher, at hitting 25 years. And we still have Bobby Collins working for us at 42. It might be 48, 47, I think it was 47.
A long time.
Yeah, he's still, yep, still working for us.
Every
So
day.
it was great opening there. Pete alluded to the new kind of open house model. At this point, we've had our open house or back to school, whatever you want to call it, across all 6 districts. And Colleen DeBari actually jumped in at all of the elementaries and then was in attendance at the high school, correct?
Yeah.
Setting up, so she's hit every building. I was only able to make it to Holland because there's always another conflicting meeting. But at all of the open houses, she had a little table for student support services and having some flyers of the different services we provide, which was great to have. Little side note, because I was at Holland and at the table right next to TED, so for anyone interested, the TED Foundation continues to really look for volunteers that want to take over and join them. I think in my 20 plus years, I feel like they've only had kind of 2 changing of the guards. So to get to the point where those who have been working hard to keep TED Foundation going are ready to back off, and they are really trying to get new members to help with new things. I did find out while I was sitting with them, they will be having the turkey trot as they always have. They're combining 3 of their events next year. So the Tastefully Ted is not happening, the Diamond Brunch is not happening, the bingo event is happening, and combining all of those. So May 1st, early notice, May 1st at the Public House will be some kind of combination of all 3 of those events. So, trying to push Ted. Other than that, I will say thank you, Dr. Dufresne, for not mentioning, but I gotta put the elephant in the living room for the Sturbridge representatives from an opening couple of weeks perspective. Transportation not going so awesome. Part of the reason it's going to the high school probably is because we just either have buses showing up late or less of them. So while you would love more to take buses, right now I am good with those that don't cross the street. So we continue. Anyone who doesn't know, we are not alone. Every day I watch the news, there is some other school district with the problems, but we definitely have a problem on the Sturbridge end with drivers who have retired or left due to illnesses, and we are struggling to keep up the runs that we have. We have got a few in the pipeline to train. It's a long process, and we appreciate everybody being patient while we change the runs. Sometimes it feels like on a daily basis, but our coordinators, our transportation manager, and the mechanic have been driving pretty much every day for the last 2 weeks. So I appreciate the patience, and honestly, I think there is far more patience than I thought there would be, because the number of scathing emails that I've gotten is pretty small, so. But we're working on it. Now I am to the point with just a couple of items that actually were listed on the agenda. The first, in your packet are 2 versions of the current year calendar. And cutting to the punch, I'm asking you to vote to revise the current year calendar to not have a half day of school on Good Friday, because we don't need it. So as I spent the summer first trying to figure out how am I gonna deal with the fact that we're on for a half day of Good Friday, and I've got a number of contracts that actually have Good Friday as a contractual holiday, so we were making plans. But then as I looked at the calendar, there was an error. And no matter how many eyes look at things, because there's 34 that were at that November meeting, despite the 20 that looked before. If you look at the second one where I kind of put in the column the error, March, the calendar you all voted on listed March as having 20 school days. It's actually 21. And I'm not sure if we missed the dangling March 31st or quickly thought that 27th was a full non-school day, but in actuality it is. So there's actually 21 days that count towards our 180, which allows us to put that back on the books and change the March to the 21. This version said, at the time, it says April 16, but in reality, we were making April 17 by doing the half day on Good Friday, but we're gonna keep it at the 16. So the bottom line is, I'm asking your vote to have us put Good Friday back to be a full holiday, and we are not changing the last day scheduled at this point. We're still on Friday the 13th of June. I need a vote on that.
Entertain a motion.
So moved.
She's been made by Mrs. Panic, seconded by Mr. Goodwin. Discussion? Objections? By unanimous consent, motion carries.
Thank you very much. You are the last committee. I didn't want to wait until November. I wanted to get this taken care of in September so we can put the updated calendar on the website. So now we will do so and not have to worry about it in November and have folks waiting and wondering, especially because Good Friday is the Friday before April vacation this year to do, so it is a valuable day for me. And just finally, this is sort of a follow-up conversation. We talked at least 2 school committee member meetings last spring about the pool coordination, which continues to be a problem and a position we haven't been able to fill. So we did talk in the past about doing everything we could to handle that internally and handle that with what was traditionally a stipend of about $3,000. It's just not happening, and at this point in time, we need to build a program from the ground up. We need someone who will recruit lifeguards, possibly train lifeguards if they are trained to do so, and take over scheduling and try and get some birthday parties, perhaps some free swim. There is this perception, the community seems to think that there is a huge increase for interest in free swim. When we did it years ago, there was very little actual participation, so paying lifeguards didn't even cover the handful that came and made a little bit of a donation. But that all being said, I believe we are to the point where I need to ask you all to allow us, at least for year one, to post a stipend of $10,000. We will go externally to build this program, get back up, and track both the participation and the amount of hours it takes to manage the program. So I would recommend that at least for year one, we spend that $10,000 from rural aid. We don't know yet how much we're getting from rural aid, but we do know that the line was budgeted at the level it was last year. So that's a good hefty amount that's coming to us. We should find out in the next month. But at this point, I'm asking you all to allow us to post this at up to $10,000. If the program gets going and we get to birthday parties, whatever fees we get will offset, and we'll only use what we need of that. But I think we get enough asks, and I certainly got a couple more over the summer asking. We need to try, the next step is to post externally and increase the dollar amount.
I'm so moved. Motion's been made by Mr. Haggerty, seconded by Mr. Goodwin to authorize $10,000 from rural aid for the purposes of funding the pool coordinator positions. Discussion? Any objection? Unanimous consent, motion carries.
Thank you very much. That is it for me. Yep, that's it. Oh, I actually, just quick note, MCAS is embargoed until next Tuesday. So I think next Tuesday, the 24th, you'll start seeing on the news or hearing more state information on MCAS results. Our plan right now will be to present to you all in October, which is, I think, what we've done the last few years.
All right, that brings us to communication. There is one letter regarding the Rotary International Interact Club in communications.
And that is there, just FYI. Dr. Dufresne can speak to it if anybody has, but it is a new club we started last year. And the Rotary, local Rotary, is very involved with that. It's a nice new club. We've got a good number of kids.
All right, we have no unfinished business. That brings us to new business. Mrs. Fitzgerald, good evening.
Good evening. We only have 5 today before you for review. 3 policies are brand new and are before the committee on first reading. 2 are before you to rescind. I'll start with the first. Make sure that was reading. IGA/IGD, although it's listed on the agenda as a new policy, it really represents a combination and expansion of the 2 policies which we'll be asking you to rescind in a few minutes. Curriculum development and adoption is something I think that's often misunderstood in terms of the roles and responsibilities as between the superintendent and the professional staff and the school committee. So to me, this is one of the most important policies that we have in terms of us understanding what our role is with respect to the curriculum. You'll see that our legal references have been expanded under the new combined policy. And we also go a bit more into those respective roles and responsibilities. Everyone should note that it's the superintendent and her professional staff who dig in and design, implement, develop new initiatives and new curriculum. They come to the school committee to officially adopt that program when it constitutes an extensive alteration in the content or approach. For example, if they add a new class, we might not necessarily hear about it before they add it, but it will come before us as part of the course of studies. So we as a school committee will be informed of all new courses and substantive revisions. We get reports through our curriculum subcommittee, on any changes that are being considered, whether they're minor or extensive. And then we de facto accept those changes by adopting the program of studies as we do every year. That is our official adoption of the curriculum for official purposes. So again, to me, I get a lot of questions from the public on curriculum and you people need to do this, and you know, this is a very important policy for us to kind of embrace and understand so we can explain to people exactly where those roles and responsibilities lie and when we get involved as a school committee. So we would ask that the committee adopt on first reading our new policy IGA/IGD.
It's a recommendation of the Bylaw and Policy Subcommittee. We'll bring it to the floor. Is there discussion? Any objections? By unanimous consent, policy IGA/IGD passes on first reading.
All right, policy KE, public complaints. I said this was new, it's not. This is an amended policy.
Wellness.
I'm sorry, I switched. Wellness policy, JLC-1. Again, we do have a wellness policy, but MESC came out with some recommendations to amend those policies. We looked at each one very carefully, and quite honestly, they just make our policy more, less prone to having to amend again in the future by taking out specific references and going with more broad, more broad guidelines. For example, if you look at the second page, guidelines for food and beverages. Number 2, the district will comply with federal and state nutrition standards for all foods served in schools. That language made unnecessary language further down in the policy where we're trying to identify very particular types of foods, and that just leaves us open to having to amend the policy or define a phrase that we've used which isn't otherwise defined in the federal and state nutrition standards. So by referring to the federal and state nutrition standards, it encompasses everything, and then our actual practices will more delineate what's being done in our food service. Same with number 3 under those guidelines for food and beverages. All snacks sold during the school day will adhere to the Smart Snacks in Schools guidelines. That made unnecessary some of the language further down where we talked about vending machines and classroom snacks. All of that is going to be covered under the Smart Snacks in Schools guidelines. And those are the only changes. Again, none of them were substantive. They're simply making the policy a little bit more ironclad with respect to any future challenges to broad and ill-defined language. We'd ask that you amend policy JLC-1 on first reading.
Recommendation of Bylaw and Policy Subcommittee. We'll bring it to the floor. Is there discussion? Any objections? By unanimous consent, amended on first reading policy JLC-1.
And then we have policy KE, public complaints. You'll see the only change to our existing policy that we are recommending, first meeting of the year, I'm a little lucky. The bold-faced language on the policy. Complaints about school personnel will be investigated fully and fairly. However, before any such complaint is investigated, the complainant must submit their complaint in writing. Anonymous complaints will be disregarded. This is just, I think it's something that we've expected in the past, but it needs to be spelled out in this policy for the sake of those who might want to lodge a complaint. That's the only addition to the policy. And then again, we ask that you amend it on first reading.
Bring it to the floor. Discussion. Any objections? By unanimous consent, amended on first reading.
Okay, and then we finally have the 2 policies I've already touched upon, curriculum development, IGA, and curriculum adoption, IGD. Again, those have been rolled into one and encompassed within the first policy we talked about tonight, so we're asking that we rescind both of those policies on first reading.
Bring the motion to the floor. Discussion. Objection. unanimous consent, I'll rescind our first reading.
That's it, sir.
Thank you, Mrs. Fitzgerald. All right, we will move to public access. Move to open forum. All right, at this time, we'll move to continued new business, which is subcommittee assignment. What we will do is we will recess briefly to allow the subcommittees to caucus quickly and to select your chairs, and then report that back. We do need to come back to the table to adjourn, because subcommittee meetings aren't posted separately, and so you're doing that business, so actually we won't recess. You'll be doing that business under the posting for the full committee, so we will not recess. Again, keeping with tradition, appreciate those of you that submit your interests and requests. I do my best every year to try to accommodate at least one of your top one or two. I think in this case, we were able to accommodate many folks' top 1 and 2. And then, new members generally get one subcommittee assignment. Senior members have 2 subcommittee assignments.
It's like Christmas.
Anticipation.
Just what I do.
The anticipation.
Can you grab a copy?
I'm gonna be in the hospital.
Very different.
There you go.
I handed it right over you.
I know, completely disregard that.
Merry Christmas.
All right, so at this time, I'll ask the curriculum subcommittee to come up with Jody up front. Budget will follow Mrs. Leo back to the podium. And technical will head over to Mr. Wood.
I know.
All the time we're gonna spend together.
How the kids back to school.
Building and physical plant, head over with Dr. Dufresne. Negotiation, head over here with me.
Do we have her?
Bylaw and policy with Mrs. Fitzgerald.
I know.
All right, once you've decided your chairs, please come back to the table.
Honestly, Wednesdays work so much better. Yeah, I could do Wednesday, the 9th, so you want to do Wednesday?
Megan, who is deciding his chair?
Are you chair of the They came close to making you chair and budget at the same time.
Wednesday,
You weren't there.
yeah, I don't have a.
You said yours tech?
I was making my way over.
No, it's all good.
That's first Monday.
Who is bylaw and policy?
Still are. Yeah, good. Want it, that's where the do a good job.
You're not wrong.
That's really, really working for me. All right, just to update everybody on chair assignments for curriculum, Megan Cunningham, bylaw and policy, Michelle Fitzgerald, negotiation, Christine Randall, budget, Sheila Noyes Miller, tech, Andy Dunn, and building and physical plant, Whitney Goodwin. All right. With that, I will enter, yes.
What about the communications ad hoc? Is that just, is there, are particular people appointed to that, or or is it?
Oh, we didn't put that on there, huh?
We didn't put it on.
Our volunteers were Mike Valenzola and Karen Koval, and their first meeting is Saturday morning.
Mm.
Okay, I have volunteered.
You had?
I put it in with my request.
Oh, well, then you're welcome to join us. Anybody? Saturday morning.
Yeah, there's a meeting Saturday.
Carol Cresco must have missed that, because I didn't get that message.
That wasn't even on my submission document.
No, it was in the email that went out to say, let us know. So if Carol missed that, I apologize, because she just gave us the names of you and Hannah. Okay.
You added on the
So there is a meeting for communications Saturday. That will, I mean, it's an established ad hoc committee, so that's why it's not here. These are the standing committees. If that in fact will be continuous work, then we'll codify it. All right. With that, I'll entertain a motion for adjournment.
So moved.
Motion by Ms. Panic, seconded by Mr. Goodwin. Those in favor of the motion will say aye.
Aye.
Thank you.